them. Boy, they're a lot. I love the wild cherries that grow along the scrubby sides of the trail, especially the northern part of the trail as you go up toward Carrick. I've been eating those since I was a kid in Georgia, and I just love it at the end of August when they start to turn bright purple and offer themselves to me. This is about September, however. It's called September Coming On. Harder to find the shiny black ones among the wild cherries, now mostly wrinkled and purple-gray, dotting the tree-lined edge of the bicycle trail. And somebody keeps on turning up the volume in the right ear. Face it, you're running out of chances. Left one steady. Live as if the body's appetites and joys are yours forever. Anything else, you're dead already. These few small wild fruits are autumn plump, firm and sweet as peaches steeped in wine. I'm not all that sad about being old. I'm kind of glad, actually. In my family, people don't make it to this age, so I'm delighted that I've made it this far. My father died at 50 and his father at 44, so I'm kicking their behinds. I'm doing better than that. The next poem is not so much about the body as the spirit, I suppose, other kinds of losses. Elegy. Because in your soul's house, your speech, joy is shut away in closets beyond your tongue or my inquiry. We too cannot bend back time, recover conversation's compact pleasures, or bid love hail and heal us, dear mistress of sorrow, who is not lost, perhaps, except to me, who would fold away your grief, store it in rose, or eat it, if that would lift it from you, give you back that terraced voice, intimate, small, elegant as your shoulders, intonations as of violets if they could speak, and playful as the wind, setting an oak leaf upright on the fence outside our kitchen window that afternoon while we watched. There are 5 poems in the book called the Widower Poems. I'm just going to read one of them. I am not a widower, I'm poaching. But it's kind of a metaphor for other kinds of losses, you might say. I tried to imagine myself into that situation as a way of feeling loss that I needed to make sense of. Widower with sunflowers. The light tap of seeds falling onto an earthenware plate. Bink, bink. He's in the afternoon kitchen, stripping them from the hard brown heads of late season wild sunflowers. Blossom face down, twisting counterclockwise, thumbs against the back, index and middle fingers beneath, fanning the snug little casings as they pass. Bink, 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 bink. You should be here with me. This is the work we did together, gathering ripeness for a future radiance we could imagine. Bink, bink. He takes one onto his thumb, eats it, the crisp, piney taste. His hands are lightly oiled, sticky. He sniffs the sharp, clean, penetrating smell, turpentine and basil. He's working this gray October morning for the spring to come, planning a brilliant summer larder for the delicate goldfinches who will bury their hungry faces in the new season's yellow suns. If you were here, I would nuzzle your fingers and offer you mine. You have taken yourself away elsewhere. It is your right to do that. But you cannot take away the autumn, sunflowers, goldfinches, my harvest of year's end fullness for a springtime we should have shared. As some of you will know, about a year ago I was diagnosed with early Parkinson's disease, and so far this evening I haven't noticed that I've blocked anything, but one of the things that makes me angry about the darn disease is that it interferes with my speech, just the mechanics of speech. become burdensome and difficult. About the same time that I was diagnosed, my sister bought a house in South Carolina near the beach in Charleston on Goose Creek, which is a tidal creek. And her house and property were diagnosed, you might say, with serious drainage issues. It was discovered that the house was in the 100-year floodplain, tidal floodplain. The seawall was not high enough. There were drains that had to be done. A great deal of work had to be done. So this poem, which I've called Losing Ground, I'm not sure which is the tenor and which is the vehicle of the metaphor. Is it the medical language talking about my sister's house, or the language of construction talking about my failing body? Anyway, losing ground. We're both losing ground in ways. Following the diagnosis and all the expert advice, he set about regrading the landscape to turn the waves away. He installed shunts and drains to give the floods back to the tide. He raised the seawall another foot. Good, enjoy it now, they said. He will, but nothing avails forever, he knows. The blind waters will have their way. The one I'm going to read now is actually the first poem in the book after the prologue. It's a mourning poem, an obad, you might say, in that tradition. For all of its aches and betrayals and pains, the body is still a sign of profound contentment and pleasure for me. The poem is called Morning Pause. She silences the cruel clock, sighs, turns lazily onto her side, and reaches across to cup his warm skin pouch, soft nest for the 2 small eggs inside, against her palm. He stirs, she kisses him on the shoulder. Their minds are climbing like mist into the light. Their indolent bodies are sinking, heavy and still in love with sleep. He replies in mirror form, his hand resting lightly along the low hills and central valley of the Mons Veneris, warm too, rising, falling on slowing waves of breath. Soon the familiar touch of the long-partnered, settled pair has done its work. All their cells are realigned, reset, and ready to lift them up to tidy the covers and join the day already in progress. The last section of the book, the golden section of the book, is, I hope, about what we gather when we salvage. The epigraph is from Bertrand Russell. A man may look for gold without assuming that there is gold everywhere. If he finds gold, well and good. If he doesn't, he's had hard luck. The poem is called Just Right, and I will say that one of the great rewards, the gold, you might say, of later life for me is having adult children who actually like me. Sure, they love me and all that, they have for years, but there's a special pleasure in becoming friends with one's children. My son Jason and the other son Eric, who is in Cambridge, Massachusetts as we speak, have been spending a week together in the Florida Keys fishing for about 15 years now. We look forward to it every year. And this poem comes out of that experience. It's called Just Right. The light is just right for a vodka tonic, I said, testing my drink. And one of the handsome men at the table sighed quietly. The other one smiled and pointed across the canal at the sun, hanging behind a cormorant on the top of a mangrove. Translucent black wing feathers fanned out to dry. We're at the end of the boys' week, as the family calls it, and waiting to be served our own fresh-caught snapper and grouper at a local grill by the water. Tomorrow, vacation's over, just road maps and airports, planes out of the Keys, and back to our usual late winter lives up north. We shouldn't have been this lucky, given our histories, but that's another poem, so I'll take it and call it Happiness. This afternoon light that bends and falls across father and sons. gracing our annual affirmation. Damn, I'm going to cry. The next poem is one of two tributes to my delightful wife. Delightful in all ways, Ellen is an accomplished social person. She's a confident extrovert, whereas I'm sometimes a self-involved, boorish introvert. And the poem is based on a memory of her easy social competence during our wedding celebrations, a part of which was a mid-morning brunch at our house. The poem is called Herding Instinct. She makes a wide, confident sweep around the backyard's sunny perimeter, moves the guests gently eastward toward the front where breakfast waits. Like a Welsh collie working sheep, she knows each one and steers them easily without seeming to. On her last pass, she drifts off to the south. She drifts off from the kitchen into the study to be sure I join the flock. I do. On the screened porch, pancakes and berries are delicious. So's her smile. Next poem is called Mud Shoes, and while we're thinking about Ellen, here's another one. Some of you probably know that I'm a deer hunter. Ellen is not, but she is supportive. She has been out in the blind with me, however, I'll give her that. The poem is called Mud Shoes. Love is an act of imagination. So when my lady phoned from work to say she had jeans and mud shoes in her car if I needed help dragging a deer out of the woods, I recognized the genuine article and saw her there, slim, sleek, and tidy, in khaki slacks with a burgundy blouse, black foam between her shoulder and left ear, right hand tapping a yellow pencil on a notepad on the desk. She did not have to help me drag a deer out of the woods, but she would have. The next poem is called Restoration. I have a little piece of country property up near Lexington, and a small part of which I have restored to native prairie grasses and wildflowers. Nothing like what you've done, Dave, but you know, I have an acre. The poem is about the day we planted the prairie. By the way, the title is Restoration, but some of my master naturalist friends have reminded me that it ain't no restoration unless you've got bison, cougars. It's an imitation restoration. Okay, well that's what I've got then. Restoration. These slick little seeds, black, brown, gray on my fingers, promise rattlesnake master, cornflowers, yellow and purple, blue aster, compass plant, tick trefoil, bundle flower, partridge pea. Some of the dozen native forbs we're mixing with green kelp meal in a 5-gallon bucket. Another holds fluffy grasses, little blue stem, wild rye, prairie dropseed, Indian grass, stirred into pinkish brown azomite before I pour both tubs into the bins of the bison seed drill harnessed behind the bright red borrowed tractor. The project today is to press these ancient names, sturdy and eloquent, back into the narrative of this ancient glacial soil, whose tale for 100 years has been spoken in corn and beans, in broom, timothy, fescue, alien tongues of a vast agricultural epic, 1 acre of which, about a sentence worth, we are rewriting this afternoon. Our small gift of color, lyric voice, restored to the muffled, patient earth. I am pleased and proud of my restored prairie, but I realize it's not much. It's what I can do. The next poem is called Country Matters, Harvest. That vast agricultural epic that's mentioned in my poem is still being written by thousands and thousands of farm families all around us here in central Illinois. Right now is one of their busiest times, or about to be. The other is, of course, late autumn harvest time. This poem was actually conceived and mostly written about 7 or 8 years ago, about the little country roads down by Funk's Grove. That's where this happened. On local 2 lanes, you meet a windshield with a man's face in it, and odds are he'll lift his index finger slowly off the steering wheel, maybe just 10 degrees, an impassive salute. Gravity's tugging hard in farm country this time of year. It'll pull the beans right out of their pods if you let them stand too long. And all the work in trucks and combines or by hand is a wrestling match with the magnet at the center of the earth. Resistance is precious, not to be squandered on excess greeting for neighbor or stranger. The women, when they aren't in the fields, are driving grain to bins and buyers, or sweeping. Leaves off the sunken walk up to the house, corn shucks from the drive, pushing fallen matter away to one side or the other. Listen, they say, to the downward tendency in things. Go drop your mess somewhere else, over there. They don't look up unless they know the sound of the motor. Eye contact, an unseemly extravagance, would interfere with their sober work, a labor measured, grave, and diligent. Each night in their long beds, wrapped in the musky dark, these men and women fall to flesh as rain and seed to weary soil, spring to fecund heat, and harvest to winter cold. Heavy as gray stones, they ride the sleepy tunnel down to gravitation's core, and come to rest there, I infer, without waste, as kernel, leaf, and limb come prudently to earth. All right, we're still in the golden, believe it. You never know what you're going to see, even in the monotonous corn and beans of the local landscape, but keep your eyes open and your imagination open, and you might be as lucky as I was. Spirits of the field. The Greeks believed they hid inside the trees, but here in the heartland, the nymphs and dryads play, where else, in summer corn and soybean fields. See, there they are, windsurfing the blue-green seas of beans, and next field over, stilt walking between the tall, wind-washed ranks of corn. So suited to the place they are, they might be taken for barn swallows feeding low, or the velvet-covered tines of white-tailed bucks. But these are the ordinary demigods of local earth, of our seed and rain, our sun and air. I've already said I'm not a religious person, but I know a blessing when I see one. Sometimes, however, even a secular person like me wishes for a savior, not so much a personal savior for me as for a world gone awry. This poem is called Christmas Morning. Downstairs to coffee, paper, a blown bulb, a glowing screen full of unanswered emails. A wind-whipped cardinal picks at the empty feeder. The neighbor's Santa flounders face down in the snow. On the early news, zealots have bombed a church during Mass in Nigeria, killing 25. Welcome, child. Good luck. So much to be set right. One of my poet heroes has fairly recently died, the great Irish poet Seamus Heaney. I had the good luck to hear him do a reading in Dorset in England, probably 5 years ago. And this poem, the reading happened to be, by the way, on August 1st, which is Lammas Tide. The poem will explain what Lammas is. Loaf Mass is a Saxon word. But he was enchanting, totally enchanting, but I lost my enchantment on the drive home. You'll see as the poem tells the story. Oh, by the way, the F word appears twice here. It's in the voice of a character in the poem who is trying to express his frustration. Lammas Moon. With others in the chattering crowd that tumbles out into the late night street, I look up to see the butter yellow confident moon gazing down benignly on us. It's August 1st in Dorset, Lammas Tide, feast of the early harvest, when the Saxons broke the first loaf at Mass, and the autumn is oncoming. Meanwhile, we're deep in the spell of a master's poems. The wise poet's knife-edged words, birthplace, flagstone, byre, birthright, and the luminous disc light my drive home along narrow, high-hedged lanes. They are a beacon and a talisman, but not for the rabbit in the white of the headlights. I brake to evade, but it finds the wheels whump, whump, front and rear. Back at the farmhouse, I park and slump in through the dregs of a wedding party breaking up. A young man snarls, "Then fuck it, fuck you," at a bare-shouldered girl. They are weighted down with a sorrow older than her small white arms or his flushed face. The steady light up there is now so close I think I could touch it. Still, it looks on and offers no counsel. My neck and shoulders are chilled. I'm hollowed out. I want to rock shut against the graceless world. Outside again with a glass of wine, I lean over the wall and watch two hares frisking in the moon-washed barley stubble. The voice of the poet lifts up. The voice of the poet floats up, pauses at the margin of the audible, then drifts silently out across the meadow, reaching toward an accord, a merger with the large, staring Lammas moon. Faint stripes of cloud lie across the lighted face like the last traces of a smile. I step back in along the shining flagstone path. I will sleep tonight with the windows and curtains open, after all. Another poem set in Dorset, which those of you who know me know is one of my favorite places on earth. Thomas Hardy Country in southwest England. This poem is called A Second Eden. I know that's an extravagant claim, but it's about an experience or feeling that I have rarely had, a sense of all of my senses being cleansed. A Second Eden, Cliff Farm, Dorset. Garden tomatoes, red, rich, firm, like eating new sunlight. Scatters of warm brown wheat on a granary floor, like breathing in the morning's bread. You gathering breakfast blackberries, like watching time's first harvester. River water achingly clear, like washing my eyes once and forever. Would that I could. The book begins with a poem about birth and ends with a poem about death. This is the epilogue, but I do have one more after the epilogue. I have sort of an encore, so. This poem is called My Father's Cigarettes. The dark blue pack of Montclairs next to the ashtray on the bedside table in his hospital room. I took my first one from it. We all thought he would survive the clot, but he was there to die. You could smoke in hospitals in 1963, when his ashen face with its timid, embarrassed smile wasn't covered by the pale green oxygen mask we both smoked. He was 50. I had to help him pee. He died the next day, on Father's Day. I'm not making this up. My mother sat in the hall at home in her pink nightgown, lighting up and crying as she took the early morning call. We brought his things home, limp, empty clothes, wallet, Zippo lighter, and cigarettes. I smoked them, and others, until I stubbed out my last one, a Benson and Hedges, in March of 1991, when I had lived 3 days longer than his stump of a life. A primitive animal, such as a starfish, he once taught me, will grow a new identical limb if it loses one. Its body just reaches out and inhabits the precise space left empty by the loss. I want to lighten the tone. This is the last part I'm intending to read. It's called Furnace Repair. How's the patient? I'm bending down in the cellar to watch. Don't know, still opening him up. Minutes later, he's upstairs holding a charred igniter. Needs a heart transplant. You have a donor? I keep one in my truck. The back of his license is signed. You're good at this, I'm writing the check, this metaphor game. Well, the office warned me you were a poet. I trained. That's it.